Yeah.
Thank you very much, Seth.
The time is 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's go ahead and start with the pledge of allegiance. Please stand with me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will go ahead and go right into our public comment period. If you have a public comment, please limit your time to 3 minutes. Please start by stating your name and where you live. We'll go ahead and start in the room here. Is there any public comment in the room? I don't hear any in the room, so we'll go to Zoom. Is there any public comment on Zoom? Okay, we'll get right into the agenda items then. First thing on the agenda, we have a special presentation by the city of Dayton. So we'll go ahead and start with that.
I can start a little bit, Jake.
Want to do it too soon there.
So, Mayor Zach Weatherford, as everybody is probably aware, the city has been working on a wastewater treatment plant project for a long time. We are really got the ball rolling on moving forward on our project at a proposed property downstream from the city of Dayton. It's approximately 3 miles. And in the past, we've had some discussions with the port director about using the port's right of way to potentially run our main sewer line down. It'll be underground. It's around 2 to 3 feet, I believe. And Jake with Anderson Perry has been working on this project for many years, longer than I have. So he's got, he's sharing his screen and he's got kind of the proposed route. There are some potential benefits to the port also, working with what they've done so far surveying and using a gravity type line. The port would be able to potentially do away with their pump station at Blue Mountain Station and be able to gravity feed into that line. And then also potentially in the future, if the port decided to develop that property further down, that would be able to be hooked into the system too. So, yeah. Quick and simple.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
So my name is Jake Hallpeter with Anderson Perry, and as Mayor said, we've been working on a variety of concepts on this particular issue for many years.
How many? How many has it been? Don't you think almost 10?
Well,
8.
Alan was involved,
Yeah,
and Alan left in 2012.
okay.
So
So my 10 or
at least 2010.
short. Yeah,
I would say for sure. So what I wanted to is just provide a general overview of kind of where we're at today. I think you can see that okay. So this white line shows our proposed route for our sewer system. And we believe through some surveying and initial analysis that we can make a gravity flow work the entire way from the city. Here's the existing treatment plant over here in the upper left-hand corner. And the concept would be we would connect into the existing gravity sewer here at Commercial and Stedman, run south along Stedman, which I believe is in the county, correct? And then intersect with the port's property adjacent to the railroad. And the concept would be to follow that all the way down to where the facility would be located. By and large, our intention is to stay on the north side, fewer conflicts. Just so that I know many of you are aware, there's a fiber project that's been going on for quite some time. We've had 3, maybe 4 meetings and discussions with the fiber folks where they've sent us their layout. We've sent them our layout to work through some of the conflicts that would arise, as you might expect. There are 3 primary areas where there's conflicts, and in each one of those areas, through the most recent discussions, it sounds like there's a proposed pathway where either the fiber is going to be closer to the railroad tracks. Their construction is a lot less impactful, and they can almost essentially bore it right in place. And we'll try to be out closer to the edge of the right of way. There's some areas, and correct me if I'm wrong, but where they will propose to go deeper. So
Yes.
they will be down below where we will be. And then there is one spot where we're on this, by the river?
Yes.
By the river where we both have to be on the south side of the tracks because of proximity to the river. And I think there were some discussions of potentially obtaining an easement from the adjacent property owner there. So those are kind of the general conflicts that we've seen. Once we get over here to the railroad, and I will say, keep in mind, this is conceptual, right? This isn't the final design at this point, but generally following the railroad, we've drawn a green line in there approximating, so the port, the Blue Mountain Station sewer flows over. Is that the lift station name?
It's at the end of the garden. Yeah, I think it's,
Zoom in. Is that it?
Yeah.
yeah,
So
there it
it
is.
flows, I think, something like this.
Yeah.
So we believe we would be able to connect in to your gravity sewer and pipe it directly over. Have to go underneath the railroad track there and then connect into the gravity sewer in that location, thus eliminating the pumping system that you've had to deal with. Additionally, as the mayor said, by installing a gravity system, it provides potential opportunity, not just for the port that owns property, but just for general future development in that direction that could it all be served by gravity? I wouldn't go that far to say that, but even if you had a smaller area that maybe needed a small isolated lift station to serve X number or whatever that development might be, whether it's residential or commercial or whatever, that then could drop into the sewer line and continue to flow down. At least right now to where the city's UGA urban growth boundary is. Once you get out here, it's generally pretty straightforward. We're just following. I'll zoom back in here. You can see the little jog right there and right here. So as we approach the river, we will cross over to the south side of the tracks. Again, as we said, the fiber is also going to be on that side of the tracks. There's just no way to get around that in this particular location. We would then come back across the tracks. It might be here, it might be in a slightly different spot, but generally that's the concept. And then what was the other? Oh, there are a couple, there's a drainage right here that we would have to cross. Is there another one, Brian, Ben?
There's, okay, we got the river.
Yeah,
And we have this one and there's,
so one more further down.
yeah. See it.
This was the second.
Yeah,
There's one further upstream. But we'll have to deal with that. But we've surveyed that area, analyzed the grade. We believe that it will all work by gravity at this point. At least to the point where if I work our way down here, then at some point, so this is the general outline of the property in question. Dimensions aren't exact, but we would, the sewer line would have to cross the tracks and it would have to cross the highway. And then it would, this property is owned separately. So there would either be an attempt to get an easement or some sort of deal worked out to cross their property, or if necessary, we would just come up and go right on to what would become the city's property, with the ultimate objective of locating the new mechanical treatment facility back here in the corner, furthest away from everything, followed by a series of polishing and infiltrating wetlands. And that's, we've got to work on conceptual layouts and many other things And we, at this point, just so everybody knows, we've installed groundwater monitoring wells approximately here and here, and have collected our first set of groundwater samples. We don't have those results back yet, but ecology is requiring several months of sampling. And so we just got our first set done. More coming soon. That's the general concept. Again, pretty high level. I think one of the questions, and I think Jenny, when we met before your trip, one of the things we had started to talk about is what that agreement ultimately might look like. And I think you guys had a meeting while I was gone, talking with yourselves and also the railroad folks.
Yes, we've met with the rail, the rail operator and the, his property management company that he works with.
Yeah.
Yeah. When, and if I can interject
Yes,
here,
yes, please.
when Jake talks about areas of issue, it's because we're trying to stay as far away from the track as possible. So it became clear, I think you guys would agree, when we met with the rail operator and the management company, is they're fine with us having to go closer here and there. So that was what we were concerned about.
Yes.
Was it an absolute, you cannot be closer than X, or was it did it have wiggle room? And it does have wiggle room. It's just best to stay as far away as we can.
And you might expect they're designing something, we're designing something, and we're both trying to be far away, and lo and behold, you start looking at the layouts, it's like, oh, those lines are right on top of each other, and that's problematic. It's been done, but if we can minimize those locations, it's gonna be better in the long run for both the fiber and especially for the city sewer, right?
Yeah, and I
Separation
appreciate,
do we have to have from the fiber line?
That is a good question.
We're trying to keep 5 feet.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any requirement. We're just
There's no
trying,
yes,
because we don't want
There is
the,
no, there is no real minimum.
Yeah. Just don't hit it. And
Right.
we're drawing ours to be 5 feet away so that we believe that gives us enough wiggle room to have some variation with their installation and still not hit it.
and it'll all be traceable, certainly. And just for a point of clarity, the fiber will be installed first. Okay, clearly, given.
I haven't announced this to them yet, but it went out to bid today. So it's going to be installed soon.
Which, I mean, there's many other steps we have to get through.
But I think I initiated this conversation because we did not want, even though they're not ready to build, we wanted to do it right from the beginning, not have a conflict 5 years from now.
Well, and if there's easy things that can be done now the fiber guys don't really care if it's here or here. It's no real significant difference in the design or the installation, but it could be
Could
pretty
affect you.
significant.
Yeah.
for the
Costly
sewer.
in the sewers side, yeah.
What size main line are we talking about putting in?
15 inches.
Now, everywhere there's a bend, like over there where we're talking where the conflict is with the river, and you got those 90-degree bend, you got to have a manhole. in one of those lines you're talking
That's how we have it. Yes.
Absolutely.
And there'd be several, manholes,
everywhere.
300 to 500 feet, depending on how everything really lays out, I mean, there's optimum distance, but if there's a access road, we're gonna do everything we can to minimize conflicts with.
The farm leases, we talked about that, people are farming the land, so try to keep the manholes and the vaults, the fiber vaults
Yeah,
out of the farmland as much as possible.
So there's a ton of moving parts to this project.
Right.
And this is one of the major pieces that the city needs. And so we think that starting these conversations now, so that if the board commissioners have any questions, if they have any issues, bring that stuff up now so that we can try to mitigate as much as we can to keep this moving forward as fast as possible.
I guess if I had any concerns, the only concern I would have is just making sure this doesn't affect the railroad operations. Of course, we have to work with him during the installation, the timing of whatnot. But, and as far as I know, that below ground improvements aren't going to affect the traffic of the rail line at all. So I don't have any issue with using that right of way for these kind of purposes. I know that we have been discussing, future plans for Blue Mountain Station, and I'm curious if it would be possible in the design process of this, while this is being installed, to install a few stub outs there at Blue Mountain Station underneath the tracks while the construction is going, so they won't have to
Absolutely.
deal with that again.
Just interrupt at one time.
Right. That'd be my concern, is there's few interruptions we can have and do some future planning. I mean, we don't know for sure what we're gonna do out there, but.
But that's what you really do with any development. You want to plan for any kind of future development
Right,
and get it all done at once.
yeah, so as long as we're planning ahead for that and not interrupting, the use of the rail line, I have absolutely zero objections to it. I'm really excited to be moving forward with the project and getting this behind us.
And if I recall during the meeting, there would also be coordination with the railroad during construction. So if there's construction crews there, there would be coordination for temporary shutdowns and things like that to minimize any of those types of impacts also.
Perfect.
Yeah, that has to happen even with the fiber. Yeah, the fiber, like if you look at the bid packet, there's all the permit applications for crossing the rail line and having railroad insurance and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we're doing on the Third Street project right
Yeah.
now. Right now, they got the railroad track tore up and to do the new crossing, and we work well with everybody, follow all the guidelines, so.
And I did talk to Kim Boggs about what kind of agreement it should be. And, normally we try to avoid easements on the railroad right of way, but this is pretty significant. The city is gonna wanna have a guarantee that we're not gonna ask them to move their sewer line. So she said it probably does need to be an easement, and she asked me to get a license, draft or a sample license agreement that the rail operator is using for longitudinal encroachments. So she can incorporate that language. So she's gonna work on something. So we don't need to wait, I think for their peace of mind, as soon as we can get something drafted and get it for everybody to review, I think we can move forward with it.
Agreed. Commissioner, do you have any comments?
I think Commissioner Bryan pretty much hit the topics as stub outs if possible for future development would be smart, especially for going underneath the tracks. The other thing, it was 2 or 3 feet deep. Is that what you're saying?
We're actually looking to be a bit deeper than that, about 5 feet to top.
5 feet deep?
Yes.
What happens when it goes through those gullies? Are
Yeah.
they all deep enough that'll be under or will be exposed?
So, yeah, before we go under any gully, we would have a drop manhole. That
Okay,
would then, we'd be looking at something more like 8 to 10 feet to top a pipe for a short period of time. And then we would just continue that 0.25% to 0.4% grade out until we reach our 5 foot of cover again.
It slowly gets shallower.
Yes, it'll just slowly get shallower. Yeah.
and then, of course, the infrastructure of the railroad, is important for us, making sure that that's, the integrity of that is held. So we can have a win-win-win. We have a railroad, we can have fiber, and we can have sewer, and then they all work. And so that's critical on it. So other than that, that's all I had. on it. Thank you, Commissioner, at this
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. I'm in full agreement with the discussion here and fully support what's going on and the relationship and partnership we're gonna have with the city on that project.
Well, it's been a long time coming, that's for sure. And I think as this progresses, certainly we'll be happy to come back and chat again and provide updates with this part and with other parts as well.
Yeah,
The city wants that.
if you go home and you think of another question or 2 or 5 or whatever, if you have any other concerns or questions, please reach out to either me or Jake or somebody, and we want to have all the i's dotted and all the t's crossed. So,
Well, I appreciate you guys coming and having a conversation with us, especially another meeting. And so, appreciate that.
Anything else?
I don't think I have anything.
I don't.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We won't even think it's free. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, you guys. And thank you for all the coordination. I really
I'm really
appreciate it.
glad that the timing worked out. It was
Yeah,
a little bit crazy there with the.
I were traveling. You were traveling too.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get right into our administrative items then. We'll approve the minutes. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any suggestions, additions, or changes?
None.
No.
Accept the motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion to approve them as written.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, then.
We'll see you.
See ya.
If you need to get a hold of me, Jenny knows exactly where I sit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, budget report and vouchers.
Okay, lots of vouchers this month. Yes, so a few things I will point out, it was quarterlies, so of course we had all that. But, Air Leaf Consulting, that's part of the malt, project feasibility study. Same with Blue Room Architecture and Design, that one is part of the malt feasibility study. Dennis Mitchell, PhD, same. I think those were all from that project. Then, Pacific Core, the big one, that's another fiber bill. That's more the make ready, the whole make ready. It's about done. Phoenix Pulp and Polymer. So that's the straw pulp facility down there. This lignin is their byproduct
Right.
that we put on the gravel.
Sure,
So-
look nice,
It does, and it's the dust.
right?
Keeping the dust down. We put down a lot of gravel. So the Rock Hill Concrete, we did significant gravel. We haven't put that much gravel down in years, and that made a difference too. It really needed it. So we did that first before we put the lignin
Right.
down. So yeah, just some big bills. And then Washington Public Ports, that's dues. Same with Pacific Northwest Waterways Association. Those are both dues that we pay each year. And I think those were the only unusual. WBE Technologies is fiber materials. 0DB is, of course, fiber construction. Department of Commerce is the land payment, once a year land payment at Blue Mountain Station. And I think that covers the big ones. So, yeah,
Yeah, thank you. My questions.
all right, there's minutes and vouchers for signing.
They want a question on the budgets of the other side of that. for
Okay,
Properties. I looked at this and I said, building number, IV number 3. In January, there was nothing. And then it looks like, February, March, April, and May was 1,300. And then June was 2,600. Looks like it doubled in June for some reason.
so what happens is it depends on the payment date and what day it was deposited. So it could very well be that in January, they paid their rent at the end of December for January, or it could be that they paid late that month and got a late fee. I cannot tell you just by looking at this. But so the double would be the same thing. They would have paid, they may have paid 1 month. If they pay on the 29th of June for July and it gets deposited that day, it's going to show up in June. We're a cash basis port, so it shows up the day we receive it, not an accrual method, which it would show up the month it was applied.
Right.
So that's what it is. Yeah,
Because their payment dates don't necessarily line up with our reporting and.
correct. Usually it does, but sometimes it gets off. And we have in all of our leases, we have a clause that if they pay after the 28th of the month, they get a late fee and then interest as it goes along. So the late fee would not show up under rent because the late fee does not get leasehold tax charged against it. It would show up under probably miscellaneous revenue. That's why sometimes you see funny little numbers. It's one of the reasons we have miscellaneous, because you have funny little $25 late fee or some interest charges. So that is in all of our leases. It is standard.
So if I look at that, so I would be able to go back to December of 22. And it should show 2,600.
Possibly, yes. Or, we run a report in QuickBooks called aging receivables. So we could print that out and it would tell us if it was somebody owed us money. We do that all the time. So we would know if somebody was behind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like. It just looks like, and then 2,600 for June and 0 for July. So,
Yeah, we track all of that and we would know if somebody was late, we would be sending them a statement with a late fee
Well, a lot of
attached.
them
Yeah.
are late for July because the month isn't over yet. Now received their.
No, right, oh, right, yeah. Yeah, you can't look at July as a full month. You can only look at June as a more of a full month.
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand, but 2,600, that means it's a double payment somewhere.
Yep.
So I would imagine that come July, there shouldn't, even in August, there shouldn't be anything for July because there's 2 payments.
Well, they may have in June paid one, for the May payment towards the end of May, it would show in June, and then paid another payment, 3 weeks later, and it went in the same month. It would show, even though they made them like 4 weeks apart, it would show in the same month, but that could be. There's a lot of these, like even, the DTM 0 in January.
Yeah, I think they paid in December, if I remember right. We had a conversation about that one. Yeah,
Right.
because I think I told didn't I tell you guys, try to get as many payments as you can? Try to get things paid, you paid it on time at the end of the year, so we're not carrying it over. So
Right.
who knows? Who knows what they
But we're
did?
not behind on any payments with anybody like that.
I haven't checked the thing lately, but we check it all the time. I don't think anybody's behind, are they? Well, Cedar Rain was a little bit behind, but they've been making payments and they are being charged late fees
Mhm.
and interest.
To answer your question?
It addressed it, but I'll just continue to look at that and see where we end up down the road here.
All right. Anything else? No, okay. Okay, leases.
All right, today we have a lease renewal for Southeast Washington Alliance for Health. They rent 2 of the offices in the Cameron Street co-working building, and they had a clause in their lease that gave them an automatic 1-year renewal. So this is an addendum that just accepts that renewal.
Okay, so no other leases, then we'll go into staffing. What did you have for that?
Okay, well, I think in the email I sent you before my vacation, I told you that our bookkeeper had given her, well, she's a contract bookkeeper, so she had given notice and things have kind of settled out for her a little bit. It was because her mom had a stroke and things are a little settled out, but she's been working with Tracy and Tracy has been learning a lot of the bookkeeping. Tracy did the books at Bluewood, so this is not a surprise. And so Joanne is happy to continue to help with quarterlies and anything else we want, but we will just reduce her contract by significantly. And Tracy has agreed to take over for the bookkeeping and do it for a couple of months and make sure she's comfortable with it. And so, yeah, so that's good. That's very good. And Joanne can be there as backup as we need her.
Speaking of that other staff member you mentioned that she had family member had a medical condition. I would caution us, to say what medical condition they are.
Oh, okay.
For HIPAA violations and stuff. We can say it's a medical condition. Can't really say what it is. And I don't know about contract staff or employee, the difference on that. I just caution us to make sure that we probably limit it, personal information.
And then we got 3 applicants for the economic development coordinator position and offered the job to one of the people and she turned it down. So we need to go back. I need to go back to the drawing board and put that back out and spend some more time. Our unemployment rate for the month of May was 3.1%, which may explain why it's so hard to find people to work. But, so I need to go back out for that. And then our little Kelly, we invited her to come to the meeting. She's probably gonna cry. She's leaving us on Saturday, so we just have a little, yeah,
I might cry too.
Oh, my word.
Oh,
Thank
lovely.
you.
Just because we love you. Lovely. Thank you so much, Kelly, for your work.
We appreciate you. We really do.
Sweet. The plan is to join my husband because he retired from his job for 45 years and share that time with him. But I'm so grateful because what started out as just being kind of a port in a storm, if you will. It ended up 3.5 years later, I'm here and I have grown to love this community even more and Blue Mountain Station and learn like when everybody has their little piece of the pie and taking care of our community and how great it is. Because I really was not aware of the hard work and the dedication and details that goes into supporting all the facets. And Jenny has, when things even got tough, it made it easier for her to walk, but she can't because she loves what she does. She loves our community and she really is so dang smart. She remembers everything. I can't remember what I did last week, but I'm getting older. And you're just so dedicated to this position. And I appreciate all the training and patience that you still have to deal with every week with me. And Tracy, who's become a beautiful asset to this team. She's really lifted some of the burden off of Jenny. She's just picked it up so well. And I still just got to bring my dog and stop by once in a while because he's ready to go in the morning to come see what's going on. So, but I want to thank everyone for embracing me and for helping me learn and letting me be a part of this community in town. I'm so proud of Little Dayton. It's amazing what I've learned. So thank you.
thank you, Kelly.
I stole your now again. Sorry.
You can keep.
Okay, moving along, we'll go update on port assets, Raquel.
All right, so we told you about the dust suppressant. I had that written down. Still working on a few little issues from the USDA inspection, building inspection, because man, are they picky. But we're getting there. And then I did want to address Columbia River detailing.
Yes.
He just really didn't leave. He was not a great tenant leaving here. He didn't tell us that he left here.
Right.
So I read it on Facebook. Tracy didn't know, none of us knew. He sold the business twice. So we had one person in here in tears for money that she gave him and was not able to, she has no paperwork, no, nothing. Then he sold the business to a second person and we went down and visited with him today. And he also didn't tell that gentleman that the lease is expiring this month. But he did, I will say for him, the second person that he sold the business to is doing the right thing. He is, even though he shouldn't have to, he is honoring the gift cards that were sold. And he says there's lots of work here and he asked if he could enter into a new lease with us for 3 years. And we checked and he has a business license and has done all the paperwork that he needs to do. So we're going to bring a lease next month. So good news is it ended up being a good person, but he also was shafted in the whole process. So, but you know, we have to be careful what we say. So it, you know, it is what it is, but I just did want to make sure publicly people knew that this new gentleman is honoring the gift cards and doing the best he can to keep going. So his name is David Mendez, and he used to work at O's Car Wash in Walla Walla, the place that worked on cars. So he's very experienced and he, the Small Business Development Center is gonna touch base with him and make sure he's on the right track. So anyway, we knew nothing about it. So. But the rent has been paid. I mean, no rent, we haven't been left with any rent. And while I was on vacation, the new person brought Tracy a check. So that was kind of the first indication Tracy had that something had changed.
Well, even with that, we didn't know because he just brought us a check for Columbia River Detailing. I just assumed he was an employee.
He's gonna change the name.
So
He's gonna change the
I
name.
didn't realize he was gonna change his name. We just thought he was dropping that off for me. So.
So anyway, yeah, that was a unfortunate situation. Yeah, so I think that's all I have on the industrial park.
Okay. What building is that?
That is industrial building 4, 5. I think it's 5. Yeah, it's industrial building number 5. Which is a building that has 3 different tenants. Two different tenants, because one bay is Cameron Street Co-working, and then industrial building number 5 has bays, 521 Cameron and 519 Cameron, so there's 2 different tenants. 440 and 550. One tenant pays 550 and one tenant pays 440. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Ryan Ferry.
Okay, the only thing, they've had a great summer. The only thing to report is we have an annual inspection with the Corps of Engineers on August 15th, and it is also our 5-year ergo inspection, which is an environmental extra layer of inspection that happens every 5 years.
Okay.
So that's happening on August 15th.
What is ergo?
I don't remember what it stands for. I was gonna look it up for the meeting and then I forgot. It's an environmental, the first word is environmental, yeah. I'll see if I can look it up.
Any new developments with the pull-through site potential?
No, that is something I need to work on. No, that's on the to-do list. I have not done anything else.
I think one of the things I talked to last meeting was, having a look at what that expectation letter was from KOA, mandating them.
Oh, yeah, you wanted us to send you something, didn't you?
Yeah,
What was it?
it was that expectation that you're basically gonna be kicked out of KOA if you don't do this. What,
So you want to see that in writing? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, should be writing somewhere if they're,
I think
Yeah, we have-
said she
Yep.
had it.
yeah, so taking a look at that. I have some other questions and concerns, but I think we'll start with that.
Okay. That weren't answered at the last meeting when we were out there?
No, I still have questions about, it appears to be a little strong arming, going on with KOA, within the little outfit. But I want to be able to, justify those comments with some more information. Or disprove those comments, hopefully.
Anything else on Lions Ferry Marina? Okay, moving on, Blue Mountain Station.
All right, food stock is this Saturday, doing Facebook posts and radio ads. We have lots of food trucks. It is going to be 95 or 6 degrees, so we're gonna put up as many canopies as we can. There will be shade for food and shade for music, shade for the water slide, shade for the activities. So we'll just do the best we can to provide shade. Bard and B has left his space down there, so we have Sweet B available for lease, which is, haven't had a space in a while. Have done nothing about advertising it, so it just happened. So we'll have to go down there and look and see if it needs to be painted or anything, and then get it back out there.
That's a nice space there, I like that one.
Yeah. And then the architect did meet with, the architect that's working on the malt project, did meet with Anderson Perry down there and talked about utilities, and we met with Pacific Power and talked about power extension. And so they're working on a site plan that was part of that feasibility study. I think that's it for Blue Mountain Station.
Okay. Walla Walla Railroad, what do we have there?
Well, we've had quite a bit of interaction with them over the sewer and the fiber line. So I just wanted to tell you about that. And then he sent me an email and he asked about buying the line again. And I told him that the reports from the consultants are due in September and that I didn't expect any further discussion or anything different before that report came out, but that I would pass on to you that he had asked again.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, thank you. Okay, Community and Economic Development Executive Director's Report.
Okay, so a couple things before we move on to the 2 items on the agenda. WEDA is having, the Washington Economic Development Association is having their summer conference in Walla Walla. Have they contacted you?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I think they're just wanting kind of local elected officials to like do a welcome or something at one of the receptions.
Right.
Okay, so
So I did have to decline that.
Oh, okay.
For one, it interferes with our meeting that night.
does it?
Yes. And also I am expecting to have a medical procedure right about that time.
Okay.
And so I don't want to risk having to cancel last minute. So.
Interferes with our meeting. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so
All right.
I did have to decline that. So I will not be able to speak at that.
Okay. All right. That's true, but it's our meeting week. I don't think I realized that. It's unfortunate, but the conference is mostly during the day. I
Yeah.
suppose they were just having a
Yeah, because.
reception or something at night.
Reception was at 6:30 at a winery.
Okay.
I can go in his place.
You have to give a speech.
Get back to you.
Okay, and then I am still waiting for a response on the brownfield building idea that we had discussed. So that grant opportunity is opening soon, so I will send a nudge and see
Right.
if they're interested.
Okay.
Okay, and then, okay, so now on to the agenda, Columbia Pulp. So we've had the request from Mr. Miller
Mhm.
to write a clarification, I guess, or something about the letter.
Right.
I don't know, I explained to you guys why I was reluctant to get in the middle of it. So do you have any questions or want to discuss it further, or what are you thinking about any of this?
What when you say reluctant about getting in the middle of it, we sent a letter which got in the middle of it, which is why we're having this conversation, correct?
No, that is not correct. We did not write any letter to the Glenn County,
I want to talk
California,
about them. Let's talk about the original letter you sent to the,
for the bondholders.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we were supporting an economic development idea. Yeah. But he's asking us to clarify something that is happening in Glenn County, California. That was what I said. The reason I declined him is because I did not write a letter to Glenn County, California. I don't know what's happening in Glenn County, California. So writing a letter to them felt like we were getting in the middle of something I didn't even know what it was about.
and I think in the email you sent back on the clarification, it said that you no longer supported.
That's what
Original
he
one.
said. He wanted me to say that. And I said, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
He wanted me to say that I no longer supported Earth Protect's purchasing the Columbia Pulp facility. I said, that's not true. I still would rather see a business buy the plant and keep it whole than piecemeal it out. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess one of the other concerns I have with it is that we had a conversation a few months back that if there's something that's a big ticket item that is not your day-to-day operations. I think we talked about having it run through the port commissioners if it's a representation of the port. So I was a little disappointed that I heard from it from that direction instead of you bringing it to the port commissioners and saying, hey, I want to plan to send this letter. What do you guys think? Those type of things. And now we have conversations with our attorney, making sure we're good to go, those type of, and hopefully that would alleviate some of that. Not saying that we wouldn't step on our toes, but I think I remember having that conversation with another letter that we were going to send out. And my request was we run that through the port commissioners on those, unless it's day-to-day operations.
I write letters of support for businesses and grants and stuff all the time. It was day-to-day operations. They have made it something different. So it is my job that is part of my job. To decide, writing a letter. I mean, right now I have a request from a business out here that is writing a grant to the state of Washington. They want a letter of support for their grant application. I do that stuff all the time. It's not, that is part of my job description. That is not a port commission's job to make those determinations.
For every letter that you write, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want.
Right, that's not what I said. You said everyday, day-to-day operations, and that's what this was. They've made it something more.
It didn't look like day-to-day operations to me. That's what I'm saying.
What do you two think?
I would agree with what Jenny is saying. It's something that she does. I mean, it's economic development for the county, and that's her responsibility to be an advocate for economic development in our area.
I agree with that. But this was after the fact that it already closed, sent it to someone else. And then here we are in the middle of it. And so I'm like, how did that happen? Type deal.
Again, I would feel that she was within her rights to write the letter.
All right. Well, I still hold my position.
Okay, and so do I.
Well, as far as the initial letter goes, intentionally or inadvertently, the result of that is we are in the thick of this situation and we've got to get our way through it. Jenny did mention to me that she wanted to send a letter out in support of the sale as this company as a whole, and I didn't have any objection to her doing that. But I did not speak on behalf of the commission. I spoke as me personally, saying I don't think there should be an issue. But then again, I am not an attorney. I guess what could potentially differentiate this from what Johnny might considering day-to-day operations is the fact that it involves a legal procedure. And I think that's where the whole mess and the muddy waters come into play, is that we're asking them to postpone a legal court authorized sale in favor of one particular company. At least that's the appearances of what, Mr. Miller was saying in his initial email. I did have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Miller on the telephone, and the conversation went very well. And he would appreciate our help in resolving the issue with what's going on in California. I understand that we had no communications with any of the officials in California. Is that right?
No, I've never spoken to anyone there. I didn't know about it.
So it seems that this other company is using that letter as leverage in a completely separate and different case. Whether that's true or not, I don't have any facts to decide that, and it's not my position to decide what this company is doing in California. My concern is what's happening here and our involvement. I think that our involvement in this situation should be in the sale of this facility, period, and not in the sale of this facility to any particular company or entity or individual. And I think that's where the confusion came in, is it appeared that we were endorsing Earth Protects when we were essentially trying to endorse the concept of of selling it as a whole.
As a whole,
As
right,
a
yeah.
going concern sale. So I think going forward, we need to have some sort of a statement from the port that we do not have any involvement in the dealings in California at all, and have not had any involvement in that. And we do not endorse any company in particular, but the letter was intended only to, hopefully encourage the sale of the plant as a going concern for the community and economic development, but not to interfere in any court-ordered processes, either here in Columbia County or in Glenn County.
And he had said it more eloquently than I did. It was the court order process that we got in the middle of that I had concerns about. It wasn't if there wasn't any of that, I probably would not have near the concerns. But diving into a court order process, I'm not an attorney either. Had a conversation with him hey, is this gonna get us in the jam type deal? Those conversations, just to me, sounds wise.
Just for the record, Kim told me that me writing that letter was perfectly acceptable and it was in the normal course of operations of my job and what I would normally do. So she did have no problem with me writing the letter. And then the other thing she said was, we can't control what anybody else does with it. We can clarify our intent, but that would be as far as we should go.
And that's
Just
what I'm asking
clarify our
for,
intent.
is to clarify our intent with the letter was not to endorse, the owner of Earth Protects or that company in any way, but to support the sale as a going concern. So if we could do something like that, that would satisfy Mr. Miller. And I think going forward, we just need to use a little bit of caution if we're involving something that is a court ordered sale or something like that. And maybe run it by Kim before we send it out, or, I mean, I know she says that there was no issue with it.
No, she said, and do you think I was trying to interfere with a court order thing? I mean, I was just trying to get them to consider this person who came in late to the game and try to sell it as a whole. That's all. Yeah, I mean, there was no court intention to interfere with a court order.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand your intent.
Yeah.
I also can understand his perception or his interpretation of what's happening from a third party and from somebody that's put in a year's worth of work into getting this to. get to the point
Right,
where it's at.
except he's been paid the whole way and we're not gonna get a dime. You guys realize that, right?
I do.
He gets paid. The port gets nothing. We won't get our rent, we won't get our taxes, we will get nothing.
I know that.
So I guess that.
I'm
yeah.
not opposed to asking them to attempt to, the attempt that we made. We just need to be cautious going forward in these type of situations, that we don't end up in a situation where we have legal issues.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, okay, I hear you, but we did nothing wrong, so there's not. gonna
I'm
be a
not saying
legal
that we
issue.
have done,
Right.
that we have done
Right.
anything.
Okay, just want to
I
make
just
that
want to-
really clear, and our attorney says we did nothing wrong. So.
Right.
So does everybody want us in the letter?
I don't see a need. If you feel that it's important to send it out again, as you keep saying, it's someone's interpretation of what was meant by that letter. It was just to support, an entity that could possibly purchase it as a whole as opposed to in separate pieces. I feel that was within her rights to do so.
Did you have a problem with the letter?
I don't have a problem with it. I
Okay.
don't think it's necessary, but I don't have a problem with it. I concur.
Anything else on that topic? Anybody? Okay, we'll move on. Visit Walla Walla project.
Okay, so Visit Walla Walla got a grant from the state of Washington to develop a tourism. A regional tourism plan. So I wanted to make sure you all know that this is happening. I have been asked to serve on their advisory board, I guess is what they're calling it, steering committee, along with the executive director of the Port of Walla Walla Chamber, Waitsburg people. It's regional. The first meeting is tomorrow, and I really don't know for sure where it will go, but I wanted to make sure I had your support in participating in this regional tourism effort, because it will take some of my time. So I just want to make sure that they don't leave us out, I guess is what my biggest reason for doing this, because they like to, use Bluewood as a tourism reason for tourists to come. And so I want to make sure they really include Dayton and Columbia County if they're coming up with a plan and how they're going to market the region. They're trying to come up with a way to market the region beyond wine is what they're trying to do, because wine is
Everything.
wine is everything. So
And they asked you to sit on this steering committee.
they asked me to sit on the string. Yeah, they did. So I just want to make sure I've got your support before I start down that road.
I don't object.
Okay, all right. That's it.
Okay. Hey, broadband, Dayton Community Broadband Project.
All right, so we had a co-location tour today, and I thought I'd share some pictures if you'd like to see them.
Please.
So that we had all three ISPs came today. We had Inland Cellular and Columbia iConnect and Pocket iNet, and Zero DB was there. So there's one of the pictures. Oh, is it not gonna let me? Here we go. There's a picture of the co-location room and some of the server racks. So you can see these racks are empty. So this is where the ISPs will lease server space from us and put their equipment
Okay.
in these servers. There's lots of pictures, so I might have to skip through. Tracy and I were both taking pictures. So there's the other part of the server room. And so these are called fiber splice. They're called splice cassettes. And so these they will represent each address in the project area. So that is how the ISP will know what address they're serving with a particular piece of fiber, is through these little splice cassettes. So there's one of the Zero DB employees doing some splicing today. And there's more of that. This is the little, when they splice two pieces together, they have a little sleeve. They call it a splice sleeve that goes in the little heater, and they heat it up and the glass welds together. Oh, is that it?
That's all the ones I have.
Oh, are those just your pictures? Oh, well, where's my pictures? Okay, all right, I'll stop sharing. Anyway, so that gives you a general idea of what happened, and it was really, the ISP seemed happy. It was really a good little meeting today. So I'm still waiting on 2 master leases, but now that we have toured the facility, the other 2 companies are ready to sign and send them back. So what's going to happen after that? I mean, the project's not done, but we're getting there. We're getting, I mean, to the point where they're splicing. This is really good news. So we will, the ISPs will send me an email and tell me how much of that rack space they want to lease. So part of what they will be billed for each month is a cost of leasing that rack space from us, cost for electricity. I think those are the 2 things. And then they will be billed for $20 per customer per month by the port. We do have to charge leasehold tax on part of that, which the state and the WPPA is still discussing that with the Department of Revenue, because it feels like double taxation, because we have to charge them leasehold tax and then they have to charge the customer sales tax. So it seems a little bit duplicative. So they're working on that. And then we will enter into a fiber management agreement with Petrocor, and they will in turn have agreements with NOAANET to manage the network operations center. That's what they call that little building. They will work with the ISPs when they're changing customers or on the addresses and send us a list each month of who we invoice for the $20. And they will we're still discussing how to have a relationship for locating, because now we have to be part of that, what do you dial? Call before you dig. We have to be part of the call before you dig system. So could be either through their management system, or she suggested we could even ask the county if they were interested in doing locates for us, and then we could pay, we'd be keeping the money local. So that's something to keep working on. And then call outs. So if there's a problem, there's going to be a 1-800 number. If there's a problem in the system, that number is called. It's not like they're calling me, they're calling this 1-800 number, and Petrocor helps manage that whole thing. And so we pay Petrocor 15% of the revenue we take in from the customers or from the ISPs each month, or $10,000 a year minimum, whichever is higher. So we're getting close. We're talking about fun things. And then the last thing, let's see, there's more. It's just splicing. Okay, and then so the last thing is, I think I told you this before, but I don't remember, to mark your calendar for September 20th for the fiber lighting presentation, and we'll hold it at 5 o'clock. we've made that decision on timing, 5 o'clock at Blue Mountain Station. So we'll have a whole ceremony, so please plan to come because you need to be part of this ceremony. It's like a ribbon cutting or a shovel,
Dig.
yeah. And we'll have food and curb board's gonna be here, probably the state broadband office may come. There's several agencies that may come, so it's
Excellent.
very exciting. And I think that's it on that project.
Okay. And Tushy Valley broadband.
So that one went out for bid today, the construction, got it up on the website and to the Chronicle. The railroad right-of-way applications are in process. We have, you heard them talk about an easement with a private landowner. We don't have to have it, but we're going to ask because then it gives us the better separation with the sewer line.
Right.
So I've got a map and I'm gonna go ask the landowner if they would consider, it's just in farmland, so it shouldn't be a problem, but you never know. So we will ask them. And let's see. Rose Gulch, so the Rose Gulch Bridge is going to be replaced by the county. So we are not going to string any fiber across it yet. I spoke to it would serve the rock pit, Conan's rock pit. And I talked to Ryan Conan and he said, yes, we want internet desperately, but we understand that we don't want to, we'll wait till the bridge is replaced before we string any fiber across it. So he was good with that. And we've been talking to the county about figuring out a way we could build some sort of a crossing into the bridge deck so that it's not hanging off the bridge. So if there was ever high water or any kind of an event, it wouldn't just get ripped off. It would be kind of incorporated into the bridge structure. Apparently that's what they're doing nowadays, but they said they were interested, but their bid, I think they were opening bids. So we'll have to see if it can be incorporated at this late time. And I think that's it on that one.
And the rural broadband planning.
So the next step on that is to figure out what we're going to apply for funds for next. And the good news is that the allocation to the state of Washington from the federal government for the NTIA grant was bigger than they expected. But I would recommend, if you guys are okay with it, I haven't even gone down this road or asked for how much. But I would recommend we use some of we got funds from WSU for this planning.
Right.
Would be to use some of those funds to contract with Petrichor and have them help us analyze some of those federal grant opportunities on local. And then we talked about trying to serve Starbucks, the middle mile, because there's no middle mile internet fiber between Highway 12 and even Washtenaw.
Right.
Which would be an attractive project because it crosses county boundaries, so we can partner with the county next door. The Tucannon, to figure out which makes the most sense for the next move and then how to apply for funding. So if you guys are okay with that, I thought I'd approach Kara and just see what she thought and what it would cost to have their support on that.
I would agree.
Okay. I mean, we got the money, so, okay.
What was it, about 50,000?
We got 59,000, I think, yeah. Okay. And I think that's it.
Okay. Well, that's the last thing on our agenda.
Mhm.
We'll go ahead and have our time for final public comment. Is there any final public comment in the room? You guys talk too much. Anybody online? Hearing none, any commissioners have any final comments?
I do not, thanks.
Okay, that being said, we're done. We'll call the meeting adjourned. It is 6:04.
Thank you.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything like this week? Hopefully you've seen it around. The point.